Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Marta. I come from Norway and I love makeup, and I also do love fall. So in this video I'm going to be talking about, I think, 37 palettes that I think are perfect for fall. And I do have a ton of palettes, and fall is my favorite season, so obviously I have a lot of palettes that fit the season. And it was hard because I needed to not add the ones that are more fit for spooky season, because I'm thinking I will do another video on that. So I tried to stick to more of the warm greens, oranges, burgundies, purples, and those kind of color stories. But I did also add a few other ones that are a little bit more on the neutral side, but with those pops of fall colors. So if you're interested in seeing just a bunch of different beautiful fall palettes, then keep watching this video. I'm going to start out with the most obvious one, which is my palette, the Serpent palette, in collaboration with Mika Beauty Shop. It is still available actually for sale, and I think this is a very beautiful fall palette. You have the burgundy, you have greens, you also have bright orange, and the shimmers are very impactful and shifty, and I just think you can do a lot of beautiful fall looks with this palette. And here you can see it a little bit closer too, so you can just see a bit more what I'm talking about with these shimmers. Transformation is my favorite shimmer, and yeah, there's just a lot of different colors here that I deem perfect for fall. So that is the first palette. And I did actually sort these by brand, so I think I will just show you the ones that I'm actually wearing on my eyes today, and that is Glaminatrix Bonfire right here, which is just this beautiful bright palette for fall. You have greens, you have orange, you have a red, and then you also have a few neutrals that you can use. So I think this is just a very well-rounded palette, and I think it's just beautiful for fall. And then I have the Grounded palette that I'm keeping in this palette right now because I did a custom palette with outer packaging for this palette. But you can see that Grounded is just a little bit more of a neutral kind of version of Bonfire, and those did release very close as well, but I think they're beautiful together. And I think this is maybe a little bit more my kind of tones right now, because it's just a little bit more on the neutral side and more earthy, and maybe a little bit more grungy too. So I really love these, and the shimmers are all super spectacular, but they also are in the Bonfire palette though. But this is just such a beautiful fall palette. And I do have two more palettes from Glaminatrix. They do a lot of beautiful fall colors, and this one is basically the perfect fall palette as well. This is the Barely Basic palette, and you can see it has those oranges, greens. It has a few neutrals here, but it also has that touch of berry, which I think is just perfect for fall. And you couldn't really see that in the other palettes because those were more focused on the warms, or warm oranges and reds and greens, but this one also has the berry shades, so I'm very interested in having that in a fall palette as well. So I think this one is just so beautiful, and you also have those beautiful sparkly and also shifty shimmers in this one, so I really like this one. And if you like those tones that I just showed you, then we also have the revamped Nearly Natural palette by Glaminatrix, and this one also has the burgundy, or more, I would say this is a more muted burgundy, but indeed it is a red. And then we also have some grungy greens. You have a lot of neutrals to play with, so I feel like this is more of a fall palette for someone who likes more neutral shades, but also a little bit of a grunge. So I think this is a super beautiful palette also for fall. Then I do have two palettes from Beauty Bay that I find perfect for fall, and these do have some overlapping shades, and that is the Wilderness palette right here, which is a 20 pan palette. So it looks like this one. This one also has a few blues. It has actually a full row of blues, and also more cooler toned greens right here. And this one is not available anymore, so I'm very excited that I have this one because I think it's so beautiful and I love these colors together. And especially this bottom part of the palette is just so perfect for fall, and you can just mix it a little bit with the blues if you want that, and I just think they're really beautiful. And then I have the huge earthy palette from Beauty Bay, and this one is just basically like an extended version of that little palette called Wilderness, but This one is maybe even better in my opinion because you have more of those grungy neutrals and earthy tones right here. And I think the shimmers are also surprisingly good for being like not an indie brand but being Beauty Bay. And I personally don't really reach a lot for those cooler toned greens, but I do think it's nice that they're in here. So I really like this palette, even though it's very, very big. But I think it's just, I mean, these shadows and these colors just give me life during fall. And I was going through my palettes because I just moved back to my apartment, and so I was packing out stuff and reorganizing stuff to have my most loved palettes near me. And then I went through my ColourPop palettes, and then I found Good Sport. And who remembers Good Sport? This is such a beautiful palette, and I actually used it, well, just a few of the shadows, the oranges actually, yesterday, and I thought they were great. I think the mattes still hold up. I think the shimmers are a little bit boring, but they're still fine. And I think the Good Sport palette is really beautiful. So that is the first one from ColourPop. And then I actually managed to get at Forest Sight the Raw Beauty Christie collab palette second hand, because that one sold out so quick and I did not get my hands on it at first. But this is basically fall in a palette. And again, I find that the shimmers are a little bit boring, but there are only 2 shimmers in here. And when it comes to the mattes, I just love the color selection in here. So even though I don't support the creator anymore, I think that this is a super beautiful palette. And I also just love the packaging with the mushrooms. And yeah, I think it's just super, super beautiful. And of course, I did have to add one of the Twilight palettes. And I kind of find the New Moon palette to be a little bit more fitting for fall than the first one. And I customized mine, so this is not exactly how it looks like when you get it from ColourPop, but I added some shimmers that are a little bit more impactful, and the shimmers I added are from Pretties for Your Face and Tamitanuka, so I either pressed them myself or they are from Pretties for Your Face, so they're very, very impactful. But I do think this is perfect if you like warm tones. And you know, fall is called Hua Hua season for a reason, so I just had to include one of the Twilight palettes. But if you like cooler tones, then the other Twilight palette is perfect. I do, as I said, also have a few palettes that are a little bit more on the neutral side, and for me that is What's Up Beauty. They have the Geodes palette and also the Dragon Eye, I think it's called. Yeah, Dragon Eye palette. By the way, the packaging is beautiful and the quality of these shadows, it's so good. And the Geodes palette actually has a kind of muted green, olive green, and a yellow, which I find perfect for fall, but you also have a little bit of the purples and stuff, so you can just make a relatively neutral but like slightly colorful look with this palette, which I really like. And then the Dragon Eye palette, it has some green shimmers, but it's mostly purple when it comes to the mattes, but I think that's also really nice for fall because I think purple is a beautiful fall color. I'm just thinking of like the berries and the wood and stuff like that, so I think this is a really, really beautiful palette. And talking about fall palettes, I had to include some from Titanium Fox's Cosmetics because they do amazing color stories, and I find that all of them could be perfect for fall, so I had to like limit myself with 2. So Poppy Storm is this one. It's more of a grungy and very deep fall palette, and it does also have a few cooler tones with the gray and the blue, but I feel like with the olive green, you have the orange, you have the burgundy, and you also have those same colors with the shimmers, and actually some purple shifting shimmer here as well. I feel like this is a really nice palette for fall. So that is the Poppy Storm palette from Titanium Fox's Cosmetics, but I also have the Hidden Peace palette from them. And this was launched during summer, and I feel like this is like the mix between summer and fall. And I'm quite recently made a video on this palette, and I feel like if you cover the blues and the minty shade here, then you will have a beautiful fall color story, and actually even leading into spooky season with the purple and the teal color. And I think this is a beautiful, beautiful color story. It's probably like my favorite release this year, competing though with the Grounded and Bonfire palettes from Glaminatrix, I think, because those are just so up my alley. But I think this color story is just super, super beautiful and interesting, so I love this one and I think it's perfect for fall. And another brand that is really doing great fall palettes is actually Fantasy Cosmetica, and I have 3 palettes here that I wanted to showcase for that. So it's the Bird palette, it's the Fighter palette, and the Druid palette, and these are actually magnetic as well, so you can just mix and match as you want. But let's start out with Druid. This is like a grungy fall palette to me. You have like the grungy green, you have the burgundy, and you have a teal. I do love teal for fall. And then you have some more neutral shimmers, but you also have some purple, some green, and just this one, which is like the green, brown, red, kind of typical duochrome, multichrome shade. And I think it's beautiful for fall. Their Bard palette, however, is a little bit brighter and more typical fall, I would say, but you still have a little bit pop of blue and purple here, and I think this is just super, super beautiful. And I need to do like a video on all of the Fantasy Cosmetica palettes because I have 4 and they're all so beautiful, and I think the quality is also super nice. So I really, really like these palettes. They're so beautiful and this is perfect for fall. The next one that I have from them is actually not the typical fall color story, I think, but you do have a yellow and some orangey kind of shades here. And then you also have it combined with cooler tones, which I think is really cool. And it does kind of remind me of, you know, the rainy nights or evenings when you have the petrichor smell from the asphalt, and then, I don't know, it's just like those cozy cold night vibes that you get during fall. That's what this palette is giving me, and the quality is amazing. The shimmers are so beautiful in this one, and the mattes blend so beautifully. So I really, really like this palette, and I think it's beautiful if you want a little bit more of a cooler toned fall vibe. And then for a brand that does amazing grungy fall colors, it is of course Melt Cosmetics. And for me it was really hard to choose some palettes now because I have switched them out a little bit because they're magnetic. But the Fatally Yours palette with Bailey Sarian, that is a beautiful fall color story in my opinion. You do have a light blue here, which is a little bit different, but then you also have those typical fall colors that are super grungy, and you have the teal. I just love this color story so, so much. It's beautiful. And just to represent the other palettes, I have this 420 palette, and actually this is like my mock-up of the Bailey Sarian palette. I don't know if I changed anything in this one, but it's a mix of shadows from a bunch of different palettes from Melt Cosmetics, so I'm showing that as an example of all the other palettes. And then I also have the Amor, what is it called? It doesn't even say. I think it's called, oh okay, it's here, Amor y Mariposas, so it's love and butterflies. And that is such a fall palette in my opinion. You do have all of the typical fall shades. You have an orange shimmer here, you have the greens, you have some more red and purple shades over here, so I think this is beautiful if you like a little bit of color. And yeah, I haven't really used this a lot, so I definitely need to get to using this because I do love the Melt formula. But I think this is really pretty if you like bright colors for fall. And I have actually gotten quite a few palettes secondhand from none other than Oden's Eye. I think a lot of people know that I wasn't super fan of the single shadows from Oden's Eye, but the palettes have really surprised me. This one is the Flora Story palette from oh my god, what is her name again? Makeup Just for Fun. Amanda, I think is her name. And this is just a beautiful, slightly more muted and cooler toned fall palette, but you do have that purple, which I think is beautiful, and it fits so well with those more muted greens, and I think this is just a super, super beautiful palette. And another palette that I got secondhand is the Stone and Rock palette, and wow, this is so beautiful. And it's a little bit more on the cooler side as well, but you do have some warmth here as well. And I think the shimmers in here are really beautiful, and the mattes are very pretty. And I've used it a few times and really liked the looks that I created with it, so I think it's a really nice palette. And another brand that is very loved in the indie makeup community is of course Cosmic Beauty, and I have the Muse palette palette right here, which I don't think I've even used, or maybe I've tried a few of the shades, but how beautiful is this for fall? You do have some greens, you have the purples, you have a yellow, and then you have some neutrals and some more cooler tone teals over here. So you do have a lot of those fall colors, but it's a little bit different than a lot of the other palettes that I've shown you. So I think the Muse palette is really beautiful for fall. But they also do have the neutrals and the undergrowth palettes, which I think are a little bit more typical for fall. So the neutrals is more of that neutral kind of color story, and it's relatively warm, I would say. It doesn't really have a lot of cool tones in it, and I just think this is such a beautiful palette. I think the shimmers are incredible and the mattes are just so beautiful. I really like these colors down here in particular. The others are a little bit neutral for me, but the shimmers are also very beautiful. So I think this one is perfect for fall. And if you do like greens and a little bit more color, then the undergrowth palette is perfect as well. You do have those oranges that I think just are so perfect for fall, and again together with the greens look beautiful. So that is the undergrowth palette from Cosmic Beauty. And I think we're getting into the last brand where I have several palettes, and now we're ready for Ace Beauté. And do you remember when these came out? This is the Classical Paradise palette, and it looks like this on the inside. It has again those typical classic fall colors. I think it's so pretty, and the shimmers are very outdated, I feel like, because they're just very boring and dry. But I just can't get rid of this palette because it's just, I don't know, it's just so memorable to me, and I love the matte colors in here. And another palette from them that I feel like is perfect for fall is the Flare palette. It's a little bit more on the colorful side, as you can see here, but I think it's still just really beautiful for fall with all of those teals, the greens, the oranges, and the berry shades. My fall heart just loves this palette for that. But the shimmers again are very boring though. So but I know that they did revamp their palettes, and I'm not sure if the shimmers look better, but maybe. So now there's all of the palettes that are by themselves from just like one palette for each brand, and this one is the Somber Garden from Shellwe, and it's a little bit more on the cooler tone side, as you can see here. It's a little bit more muted and smoky, but I feel like with the green right here and then this shimmer, I feel like those are very fall. And of course fall can also be, as I said earlier, with like the more rainy nights and just, I don't know, just a little bit more cool toned and cold. So I think this one is really nice for that. And also this Narimi palette is a little bit different, but still it has that kind of grungy greenish yellow shade, and then the purples. I think it's so beautiful. It also has a burgundy right here and this super beautiful shimmer that is a green duochrome. So I think this is really beautiful for fall. I think it's called Purplewood or Deadwood, but the Narimi palettes don't have like a translation to English that is for every like reseller, because I feel like different resellers have different names for them, but at least this one is like the purple one. I do have a couple palettes from Polish brands, and of course I had to add a Glam Shop palette into the mix here, and I do have the Svirletem palette. I actually haven't done a video on this one yet, but I did do a few looks that I filmed when it released, so basically a year ago. But I feel like this is the more neutral kind of fall color story, and a little bit more cooler toned as well with the purples. But I think this is a really pretty palette, and it does have a lot of different shimmer formulas, which is interesting. And then you do have this little pop of orange right here. So I think this is a very interesting palette for fall. And there are a ton of other Glam Shop palettes that I could have added to the mix here, but I think they're all discontinued, so I'll just not tempt you with them, even though there are some of these palettes that I've shown you that are discontinued. But next up, this is the Polish brand Mexmo, and this one is called Foxy Lady, and it is just fall in a palette. And you have some neutrals, but you also have the typical fall shades with the green, a little bit more on the like red or brick tone here, and then you have some peach, you have a mustard, and I mean, all the shimmers here are very sparkly and shifts a little bit green. So I think they're very beautiful, and I definitely need to use this palette more because I've barely used it and it's so pretty. Like, this is just a perfect everyday palette. And we're getting to the end of my pile here, but I did actually recently pick up this one from Monolith. Not very recently though, it's a few months ago. But this one was on sale. It's the Tales of Terror, a Haunting palette, and I mean, this one could be more Halloween esque, but I find that this is just perfect for fall as well because it has all of those typical colors. You see the purple, the oranges, the greens, and the shimmers here are very beautiful, it seems like. So I'm very excited to try this. So if you're interested in seeing me use this and swatch it and stuff, please leave me a comment down below and I might do that. If not, I'm not going to prioritize it, but I think I would love to use this a little bit during fall. I do also have a few more throwback palettes like the colored Raine, and I know I said I wasn't going to tempt you with discontinued palettes, but this one is just so iconic, and I literally picked this up for $5 during their closing down sale because I already have this palette, but I depotted it and then ruined the packaging in the process. But this one is just so fall to me, and I just love this teal. I love the orange, the greens, and then you have this beautiful taupe shade, and these shimmers are a little bit boring, but they're like the thick kind of shimmer that turns a little bit metallic, and it does have a few sparkles in it, so it's not bad, but it's just, I don't know, it's a little bit different from what you usually get nowadays, but I think that the quality of the colored Raine shadows is just still really good. So this one is just so beautiful to me and perfect for fall. And two more throwback palettes. What about the Juvia's Place Nomad and Tribe palettes? Those are perfect for fall. The Nomad palette is kind of more neutral leaning, or at least more muted and a little bit more earthy with those shades over here. It has those browns, the really murky shade right here, and I don't know, I think this is so beautiful. And it's not really that long ago since I used it either, so I think it's still really good. And this shimmer in the middle here is a really beautiful metallic, so I think it's still really pretty. Now the Tribe palette I haven't used in a while, but those shimmers are also kind of nice. The mattes are a little bit too colorful for what I usually go for. I just feel like, for example, this green is just more of a grass green and it's just very bright. But you do also have this one, which is a little bit more neutral and just super dingy, but I don't know, I still really love this palette and I can't picture myself ever letting it go. But that is also perfect for fall. And now I just have two more palettes. So first I'm going to show you the Natasha Denona Yucca palette, and when this one came out I just knew this was the Natasha Denona palette for me because it has a lot of, I mean, it kind of looks like the colored Raine palette with the teal and the orange, and you also have those kind of more taupey shades here, and the shimmer quality in here is so much better than a lot of her other palettes. They are quite sparkly, and there's actually a few not multichromes, but duochromes in here. So I think this is a really beautiful palette. And I did use it quite a bit once it came out, but now I haven't touched it in a while, so I definitely have to get my hands on this one again very soon. Last but not least, we have the palette that just made me have to order something from Blend Bunny, and it's the All Done Up palette. It's a 20 shade palette, but how perfect is this for fall, especially if you like more muted and a little bit more neutral shades. I think this is just such a beautiful palette, and I love the layout with every column being just like one color. So you have like gray, then you have more cooler toned green, then you have a warmer brown and yellow, then you have orange, and then you have a more neutral kind of with a green undertone here. So I think this one is just so beautiful and a very easy to reach for palette during fall. So I've actually used this quite a bit for like everyday looks and stuff. So that is the last fall palette that I'm showing you today. Now that was a lot of different palettes, and wow, I just think these are all so great. they all encompass what I feel like fall is in a palette, and just going through my palettes and finding all these fall palettes is just making me so happy, and also making me realize how many palettes I have and how many palettes I want to use. So I'm definitely going to try to use some more of my older palettes, because I do have, as we have seen now, a lot of really beautiful palettes. I would love to hear if you have any favorite fall palettes and what you think of these palettes that I showed you here. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!